A rescue mission gone horribly wrong. What started as a simple call for help quickly spirals into a nightmare. They came to save an American bison named Titan, trapped in the woods, surrounded by millions of snakes. But what they didn't know was that this forest was far more than just a wild, overgrown place. It was a living nightmare. An ancient evil lurked in the shadows, and Titan wasn't just any animal. It was the key to something much darker. Now, trapped with no way out, can they survive the horror that's rising from the earth itself? Stay tuned as we unravel the terrifying truth behind the cursed forest. The air grew dense as Emma and her team, Dr. James and Alex, ventured deeper into the forest. Every step felt heavier as though the trees were closing in on them. They were on a mission to save Titan, an American bison trapped in these woods, allegedly surrounded by millions of snakes. The phone call that led them here had been filled with fear, the voice on the other end trembling as it described the situation. Something felt off from the start. The trees were unnaturally tall, their shadows dark and stretching longer with every passing minute. The path seemed to disappear into the darkness ahead. "Are we close?" Emma asked, trying to keep her voice steady despite the growing tension. Dr. James glanced at his compass, his expression grim. "Almost there, just a little further." Alex, walking ahead, shone his flashlight into the thickening woods, his usual confidence now replaced by anxiety. "I don't like this," he muttered. "This place feels wrong." They pushed on until they reached the clearing. And there it was, Titan, standing motionless, its massive form covered in writhing snakes. The serpents crawled over its legs, coiled around its horns, and covered its back, hissing in unison. Their eyes glowed faintly in the dim light. Emma's heart raced. The sight was overwhelming, but it was the air around them that made her skin crawl. The forest felt alive, as though it was watching them. This isn't what I expected," Emma whispered. Alex moved forward. "We need to help it. Now." But as he reached out to touch the bison, a snake reared back, its fangs bared and ready to strike. Emma grabbed him and pulled him back. "No, we can't touch it. There's something off." Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. The air grew colder, and a low growl reverberated through the trees, sending chills down their spines. "Did you hear that?" Dr. James asked, his voice tight with fear. Before anyone could respond, a figure emerged from the shadows. Tall, hunched, its skin pale and stretched over its bones. The creature's eyes glowed yellow, an unnatural light that seemed to pierce through the darkness. Its mouth hung open in a grotesque grin, revealing sharp, jagged teeth. Emma's breath caught in her throat. "What is that thing?" Dr. James, who had seen many things in his career, was speechless. "I don't know, but it's not human." The creature stepped forward, its voice a low, rasping whisper. "You've trespassed in my domain." The ground began to tremble as more creatures emerged from the trees. These figures were twisted, crawling with snakes, their bodies intertwined with the serpents. Their eyes burned with a malevolent fire. The air grew heavy with a sense of impending doom. "We need to leave. Now," Alex shouted, pulling Emma away. But as they tried to retreat, the ground cracked open, revealing a massive pit. From the depths, creatures with glowing eyes crawled out, their bodies writhing and snapping. The earth itself seemed to be alive, its hunger insatiable. The snakes closed in, their fangs gleaming with venom. The creatures from the shadows laughed, a sound that twisted Emma's insides, a cruel mockery of their fear. Then, Titan began to tremble. The bison's body shook violently, and the snakes on its back writhed in unnatural patterns, as though controlled by some invisible force. Titan's head jerked up, and it let out a deafening, inhuman scream, a noise that shook the ground beneath their feet. "This is not your fight," the creature with glowing eyes whispered, fear now creeping into its voice. "This is the awakening." The ground trembled once more, and from deep within the pit, something massive began to rise. The forest seemed to recoil, the trees groaning as they twisted away from the massive dark form that emerged. The snakes scattered, retreating into the shadows as the creatures around them screamed in agony. Emma, Alex, and Dr. James had no choice but to run. The earth beneath them cracked and shifted as the cursed forest came alive, its hunger ravenous. As they fled, they heard the creatures' voices echoing, promising they would never escape. Emma realized too late, no one who entered this cursed place would ever leave.